The Corps of Army Air Defense is an active corps of the Indian Army and a major combative formation tasked with air defenses of the country from foreign threats. The AAD Corps is responsible for the protection of Indian airspace from enemy aircraft and missiles, especially below 5,000 feet. The history of the AAD dates back to 1939 during the times of the British Raj in India. The Corps actively took part in the Second World War, fighting on behalf of the British Empire. Post-independence, the Corps has participated in all the wars involving India, starting from the 1947 Indo-Pakistani War to the 1999 Kargil conflict. The Corps enjoyed autonomous status from 1994, after the bifurcation of the Corps of Air Defense Artillery from the Army's Artillery Regiment. A separate training school, the Army Air Defense College, was established to train its personnel. History and origin. Pre-independence. Air defense artillery in India was first established by the British government ruling India in 1939, at the start of World War II, to counter the growing aerial threat from the Axis powers, especially from the Japanese in East Asia. A small number of Indian troops were initially trained to use 3-inch Akak guns and in the later stages of the conflict to operate both as 40mm L-60 guns. The trained troops formed part of the anti-aircraft batteries of the Hong Kong and Singapore Royal Artillery to counter the Japanese air threat in Southeast Asia. They were also assigned to Indian artillery formations. In the early 1940s, several anti-aircraft units and training establishments were established throughout the country, with Indian personnel being posted into these establishments from the infantry and artillery regiments. With the increasing importance of air defense due to the ongoing World War, new anti-aircraft units were raised in the regular army, serving alongside the existing anti-aircraft units which were used for static roles. Separate units were established to tackle the high and low-altitude bombers, and anti-aircraft units and formations were systematized on the basis of required gun density, with larger numbers of troops and guns being allocated to the highly vulnerable and sensitive areas compared to less vulnerable areas. In July 1940, the government established training schools for anti-aircraft and coastal defense wings at Karachi. These schools predominantly trained Indian personnel, including commissioned, junior commissioned and non-commissioned officers in anti-aircraft warfare. In August 1940, the British Ministry of Defence decided to separate the anti-aircraft units from the artillery department of the Army into an independent branch, based on the idea of towed artillery. In September 1940, an anti-aircraft training battery was formed at Colaba in Bombay to impart technical training to the troops. The first anti-aircraft unit of Indian artillery was the Royal High Altitude Airship Regiment, which was part of the battery based at Colaba. In April 1941, both the light anti-aircraft unit called the U Anti-Aircraft Regiment that was raised at Malaya Cantonment in January that year, equipped with both as 40mm L-60 guns, and the Royal High Altitude Airship Regiment, were renamed as 1 Indian Light Anti-Aircraft Regiment IA and 1 Indian High Altitude Airship Regiment IA respectively. By 1942, the Air Defense branch had grown considerably, with 18 operational anti-aircraft regiments, of which 9 were high-altitude airship regiments and 9 were low-altitude airship regiments, besides the 4 brigades that were exclusively undertaking air defense tasks. 1 independent high-altitude airship battery and 2 independent low batteries were also in existence, with 2 training centers established established to train the personnel in anti-aircraft warfare. By the end of 1944, this had reached a total of 33 air defense artillery units. However, after actively taking part in the Second World War on behalf of the British Empire, many of these were disbanded. Post-independence after the partition during independence in 1947, the units of the British Indian Army were divided between the newly independent nations. Out of the air defense artillery units that had remained in the aftermath of the Second World War, only 2 units, the 26th and 27 low-altitude airship regiments, were transferred India. The 2 oldest units, I Training Battery and Royal High Altitude Airship Regiment, were transferred to Pakistan. In the aftermath of India's involvement in the Bangladesh Liberation War of 1971, India's air defense artillery was substantially modernized. The induction of modern air defense technology commenced with the deployment of the Tiger Cat mobile land-based system in 1972. Subsequently, various weapons systems were introduced between 1973 and 1918, including the ZSU-23 4B Shilka Zu-23 2B guns, 9K330 SA systems, 9K38 IGLA surface-to-air missiles and 9K35 SDRELA-10 missiles. During the period of 1987 to 1994, India's Air Defence Corps recorded several momentous events that refashioned the identity of air defence in India. By the end of 1989, the Air Defence and Guided Missile School and Centre was established at Gopalpur Military Station in Orissa. Subsequently, the Air Defence Wing at the Artillery School was moved to the Air Defence Guided Missile School. In October 1993, the Regiment of Artillery was bifurcated and the Corps of Air Defence Artillery came into existence on 10 January 1994. The headquarters of the Corps, the Directorate General of Air Defence Artillery, came into force the same day. Subsequently, the air defence wings and branches of the artillery present at various command headquarters throughout the country were bifurcated into the Corps from the respective artillery units and regiments. Autonomous status was awarded to the Air Defence Guided Missile School at Gopalpur and the Air Defence Wing of the Artillery Centre. Nashik Road Camp was inducted into the Air Defence Guided Missile Centre. The day on which the Corps of Air Defence Artillery emerged as an autonomous corps of the Indian Army, the 10th of January, is celebrated as the Raising Day annually at air defence centres throughout the country. The Air Defence and AMP Guided Missile School and Centre and the Corps of Air Defence Artillery were rechristened as the Army Air Defence College and the Corps of Army Air Defence in 1998 and April 2005 respectively. Current overview. Regimental insignia. In 1994, following the bifurcation, the government set up the Mukherjee Committee headed by retired Major General A. Mukherjee to design and select new regimental insignia including a regimental crest, flag and motto. Regimental crest. The Mukherjee Committee assigned the task of designing the regimental crest to the National Institute of Design at Ahmedabad. After a series of reviews, modifications and improvements, finally the crest designed by Vijay Singh was adopted. The crest depicts the neo-facet of the Corps. It portrays a missile in silver tint with radar antennae in gold color fixed on the either side. At the bottom, the motto, in English Akish Shatranjahi, is imprinted. Regimental flag. The regimental flag consists of 2 halves. The upper and lower halves comprise sky blue and red colors respectively. The upper sky blue color portrays the clear blue skies that are protected by Air Defence Corps by the guns and missiles, which are depicted by red. The regimental crest is centered between the 2 halves. Regimental motto: the sentence of Devanagari script, which means "kill the enemy in the sky," was adopted as the regimental motto in 1996. Director General: the Office of Director General of Corps of Army Air Defense serves as the general headquarters to the Corps. The position was first created when the Corps of Army Air Defense was bifurcated from the Regiment of Artillery on 10 January 1994. The post is generally held by a three-star general. It was first held by Lieutenant General P.K. Pawar. The present DG is Lieutenant General Rajiv Bhatia, who assumed the office on 1 June 2015. Army Air Defense College. Established in 1989 as an autonomous body, the Army Air Defense College is the training school for the personnel of the Air Defense Corps. The college is located in the Gopalpur cantonment, Odisha, with about 2,700 acres of land. In addition to the troops from Indian Army, the school trains the Indian Navy and Air Force personnel tasked with the air defense systems. Training is also given to the personnel from friendly nations.